I'm giving everybody just a moment because I'll have some instructions, I think. Ms. Manley, does it look like we have a quorum?
Yes, we have a quorum, even with the alternates, we have a quorum.
Okay. Gavel down. Good evening. The time is 3:02, and I would like to call the 19th special meeting of the DC Board of Directors, DC Water Board of Directors to order. This meeting is being held electronically via Microsoft Teams, and it is, of course, being recorded. Ms. Manley, please call the roll of the full board and certain staff to establish a quorum and our attendance.
Chairman Wells,
I'm here.
David Franco,
I'm here.
Anthony Giacola,
I'm here.
Emil Thompson,
Here.
Joe Leonard,
Here.
Jed Ross,
Here.
Reverend Carey,
Here.
Howard Gibbs,
Here.
Ivan Fishberg,
Here.
Major Riddick, Floyd Holt,
Floyd's here.
Lavinia Baxter, Joseph Gill,
Here.
Adam Ortiz, Fariba Kathiri,
Here.
Stephen Schofer, Adriana Hochberg,
Here.
Randy Bartlett, Sarah Marsh,
Here.
David Gaddis,
Present.
Mark Battle,
Here.
Keisha Powell,
Present.
and Matthew Brown.
I'm here. Thanks.
We have a quorum.
Ms. Manley, this is Adam Ortiz. My apologies. I signed on after my name was called.
Okay, I have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. So, to the board and to those that are observing, that we are going to first take, this is an emergency or special board meeting, and we're going to first take up the emergency cleanup relief presentation from our general manager, Mr. Gaddis, and our chief financial officer, Matt Brown. And then we're going to go into executive session for a personnel matter, a good personnel matter. And then we'll come back out of executive session, and it is likely that we'll then take board action from the recommendation of the executive session in our public meeting. And so to the board members, you're going to be doing a little bit of gymnastics online where you're going to sign out, sign into a different meeting, and then sign out and come back to this meeting. For those that are not part of the executive session, you can just hang out here and you'll see us when we get back. But for now, in open meeting, we will now move on to a emergency cleanup relief presentation from Mr. Gaddis and Matt Brown.
Thank you very much, Chairman Wells. I will start out our presentation, and Matt will get into some particulars regarding the presentation and our ask and what we're doing during this cleanup as well, because his team was very integral and involved in us being successful in getting this set up along with others. So first of all, as you said, Chairman Wells, we want to discuss the cleanup relief to provide assistance to the customers impacted by the September 10th weather event. And then we do have an ask here, and that is to obtain board approval for such assistance. I'm on page 4 of the presentation now. The severe September 10th, 2020 weather event caused flooding for many residents in the district, as we all know. This was one of the worst storms that we've seen for such a short duration ever in the district. And it was a short duration and dropped a lot of water in the district, and that was the real problem. And we tried to keep you as board members informed and in communicating with you. We were in constant communication with the chair as well. I visited with the mayor about this event on two or three different occasions, walked the neighborhood with her on Saturday after the storm, two neighborhoods. Also at a 9/11 event, we had an opportunity to take questions from the press as well. And so as a result, in working through this storm, we did stay in great contact with the mayor's office and also with the council members, especially those two neighborhoods that were impacted the most. Uh, to date, our customers are facing many hardships. The impact of not only COVID-19 and the economy and employment, but the heightened public health concerns of COVID itself. Many of our low income residents were heavily impacted in these two neighborhoods. A number of them were renters, not owners. As a result, they did not have the flood insurance in place or a rider on their policy for such an event.
Come in.
And also with this, um, the standard practices for customers to use the DC Water claims process. But in working with the mayor's office, one of the things that we saw very quickly was that there were people out there that just really, really needed help very badly due to this storm. Not due to something that happened with our system, but they really, really needed the help out there. I'm going to have Matt go through the claims process and working with our customers to talk about how it was at the standard process, but one of the things that we've done to make changes to that claim process to help individuals out, and the reason for us asking for the amount of money that we're asking for to assist them in the cleanup. Matt, you want to go from here?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Gaddis. So what's presented here, and I'll talk about a little bit, is what I would call the standard claims process in the event that customers feel like they need to file a claim against us. So for any damages related to whatever it might be. So customers work directly with our third party claims administrator, TPA, to file claims with them. The standard practice is that the customer will be contacted by the third party claims administrator within 24 hours, 24 business hours to start the claims process. The third-party administrator then investigates, reviews various facts and whatever the documentation that the customer has provided, and then makes a recommendation to DC Water for payment or denial of payment. They typically pay, we pay, they recommend and then we pay claims in instances where it's determined that DC Water was negligent in work performed that caused the property damage, or if DC Water failed to correct a known problem or system failure. And DC Water then reviews and approves the recommendation from the TPA. As Mr. Gaddis said, this was an extraordinary incident because of all of the reasons that he's already talked about. We feel like it's appropriate to offer cleaning, dewatering, and sanitizing services to all the customers who were impacted by the September 10 flooding. I will note that if a customer has already paid to have their property cleaned up or believes that DC Water is responsible for additional work, they can go through the claims process. The additional cleaning we are offering is just in addition to the normal claims process, and is meant to help relieve some of the pressures and burdens that our customers are facing right now. So let me go to the next slide and tell you a little bit how this will work. We anticipate that up to 300 customers are impacted by the September 10 flooding event. We've looked at unique calls to the call center. We looked at the number of people who have signed up for backwater valves. It is an estimate, but I think that's the high end that we're estimating at this point. We may need to revisit that. So I just want to be clear about that. This is one-time assistance up to $5,000 per customer, and then the scope is there, the cleaning, dewatering, and sanitizing. And so that's where the $1.5 million total. Again, if we start seeing demand in excess of the numbers that we're talking to you about today, we'll certainly get back with you. We went directly to the firms, and so we've selected 2 firms to provide these services. That was the quickest way for us to be able to implement this program. And so customers contact those firms, will contact those firms directly, and then we will pay the firms directly. So our relationship is with Those two firms will, for example, ensure that they believe that the damage was caused by the September 10 flooding and not something else. They will take before and after pictures, those kinds of things. Also, because we want to make sure that we can respond to any customer communications, we've set up a short-term hotline. So we're calling it the Emergency Cleanup Relief Hotline. It happens to be an MBE firm, called MFL, and that's for customer questions and issues. And that phone number is listed on our website. Just if they have trouble scheduling or just any issues at all, that hotline can help with that. And so then turning to the last page, that really completes the presentation. What we're asking you to do today is to approve the emergency cleanup program in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million. And it's to go to two firms that we've identified and we're working with, ServPro and Service Masters. And we'll be happy to take any questions that you have.
Question, Matt, Tony here.
Sure.
Question is the claims process. How long do you think it takes? I mean, I'm just kind of curious what's your estimates on how long the process takes, because I'm a little concerned for a couple things. One, that it's not too long, and then two, that we do have some oversight to make sure that, you know, the contractor's doing what he's supposed to do, and also that, you know, there's some oversight for the contract. So I'm assuming that our contracts branch is handling that, or part of the procurement side. So
Yeah.
about that.
But
Sure.
Mr. Giacola, if I could just jump in here, you're actually taking two different things and bringing them together. One is the claims process, and then one was the cleanup. They are two totally separate items. The claims process
I
goes to the
understand
third
that.
party.
I'm more interested in the claims process at this point.
The claims process?
We have to do oversight in our own oversight of the claims process itself.
Well, we have a TPA that we work with, and that TPA will then begin that claims process. They contact that resident within 24 hours. They then do the inspection, the investigation, and so sometimes it ends up being in the hands of the resident as well. How quickly can that adjuster get into the home and all of that? So there's a lot of things that go into that. This is why we truly try and tell residents, to the owners of those properties at least, that they need to first of all secure their property and then file a claim with their own insurance company. And if they can't do that, or they don't do those two things, they can then come to us and file it. So the process, it's really hard for us to put our arms around how long it actually takes, because there is a process that they go through. But on the cleanup piece of it, they're out there pretty immediately on the cleanup piece, because we know those people are in dire straits and dire need of the and Matt, do you know how long it takes them to get out there for the cleanup process?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty quick. They've received a total of 85 calls already. As of Monday, there were 9 jobs completed, but then 26 additional appointments that had been confirmed. So, I mean, it'll take a few days to get through it, but we did ensure that that these two firms had capacity to do the work when we put these contractual, or when we started working on this initiative. And I'm told that scheduling number was as of late Friday.
Other questions?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm obviously in support of this. Question about the longer term liability here. Given this is not something that we're responsible for, but I know part of this will be mitigated through the tunnel program, but how much of this is just sort of in the future, as we see more and more of these events, do we start to set a precedent for, like, you know, being part of the cleanup duty when there's big events?
So Ivan, look, that was, you know, when Mr. Gaddis initially had his team meet with me as the board rep about, you know, decision making, and then I was going to bring stuff to the board, but my first reaction was, wait a minute, we can't be the flood insurance for Washington, D.C. And frankly, I think Maryland and maybe Virginia require flood insurance. I don't think we require it. I mean, I don't want to go deep into this, but we can't set the precedent that we are the flood insurance. But what became clear though as this went on is that this was a highly unusual event, which will become more usual, Ivan, you're right. But B, it hit at a time when it's hard to determine, who's out of work. I mean, it really hit our customers in ways that we may not even imagine, of them having to get their homes cleaned up, especially. And that's really the add-on, is not the claims, because we always do the claims process for those that can substantiate a claim. But this part of going in, we really wrestled. We talked about HCMA doing it, and maybe we'd help out HCMA to do it. But HCMA is overwhelmed with COVID and protests, and they were not in a great position. We looked at DOEE doing this with financial support from, just for the reason that you said, financial support would come from DC Water and DOE would contract for the services. But being a government agency and creating a contract like this could take months. And I believe that, where we ended up was DC Water recognizing the unusual situation that we're in, that we have customers, and as DC Water, as a member of our community, and a part of all this, having some resources and having the ability to contract quickly with the appropriate contractors that can do cleanup, that they're in the best position for this. Decision was made for DC Water to go out and help right away. And frankly, the city is reeling from the financial ability to respond to what it's responding to, and the city did not have resources to do it. So DC Water responded right away. Obviously, I said we need to go to the board, and let's add it on to our special session so that we can get board approval. But I felt confident that the board would support this, and just felt confident. And so I assured the executive that we could do this with the likelihood of board support. And but Ivan, you hit the nail on the head, that we don't want to create an expectation that we're the flood insurance for Washington.
Well, and to be clear, I support you writing that check, and I'm happy to be one of the board members that signs it today. But it is more just a kind of, as we go forward, whether it's us or the district, or it's a mandate on flood insurance, or, I'm just trying to get a sense of how much of what we're going to do is going to mitigate this, and how much is just up to climate change. Now, maybe that's an impossible question to answer at this point, and so it's just a kind of to redouble down on the suggestion that we need to get more serious about, in partnership with DOEE, really understanding what the future looks like around these sorts of events.
So just quickly to say that DOEE is looking at asking the mayor to convene a mayoral task force that takes in consideration of flood modeling within the district. I mean, that's what DC Water's having to deal with right now. These were not rising sea level issues. This was microburst within a neighborhood and within the district. And these are new. We're not used to this. And so DOEE is putting out funds for a contract to do internal flood modeling for the district. We've got DDOT is doing modeling right now for Buzzard Point, and the Office of Planning is doing some of their own work on this as well. And so that needs to lead to a task force that includes DC Water to come up with a set of recommendations that very well may be some fairly extensive recommendations regarding where you build and where you need flood insurance.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. So that does move us to the item. So that's number 4 on your agenda, and that is approval to execute, and it's non-joint use. So approval to execute contract number 20-PR-CFO-48, Service Masters, and contract number is with ServPro, and it's resolution number 20-70. Can I get a motion from a district member to approve the administrative item, non-joint use, on this?
So moved. Tony,
Okay, in a second?
Seconded.
It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed? All opposed? None opposed. The administrative item is approved. Thank you to our great team at DC Water. Thank you
Chairman
very
Wells,
much.
Chairman
Yes.
Wells, could I make a comment before we move on real quick?
Oh, of course, please.
Thank you very much. I want to thank, first of all, thank the board for moving this forward, and having the confidence in us to do such. But I also want to thank the DC Water team. You know, our legal team, the procurement team, engineering and operations, and our field operations team, and our customer service group. They worked around the clock for 6 or 7 days straight, in making sure that the residents were taken care of, also standing up this program, just because this is not something that we do on a day-to-day basis. So we were very flexible and very nimble to get to where we got to help out the residents. And I just wanted to make sure that I let the team know that I really, and our executive team know as well, that we all appreciated everything that everyone at Team Blue was able to do to get this thing done and to take care of the residents in the way that they did. This was a very, very tough storm to deal with, but I think that the team handled it with the utmost professionalism, and actually took care of a lot of people out there. And we've gotten a lot of letters and notes and so forth and so on from a lot of the residents, complimenting our employees on the work that they did. So I wanted to make sure I thank them, and thank you guys, as well as the board, and your support. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right. Nobody else on that. So we move to item 5, executive session. The purpose of this executive session is to take up a personnel matter. So, Chair, will someone make a motion to go into an executive session pursuant to Open Meetings Amendment Act 2010 to discuss legal, confidential, and privileged matters under DC Official Code 2-575? Can I get a
Tony.
motion? It's been moved.
Second.
Get a second. Ms. Manley, will you call the roll call vote to go into executive session?
Sharon Wells,
Yes.
David Franco,
Yes.
Anthony Giacola,
Yes.
Emil Thompson,
Yes.
Joe Leonard,
Yes.
Jed Ross,
Yes.
Reverend Curry,
Yes.
Howard Gibbs,
Yes.
Ivan Frischberg,
Yes.
Major Riddick, Floyd Holtz,
Yes. Sorry, I was on mute.
that's okay, Lavinia Baxter,
Yes.
Joseph Gill,
Yes.
Adam Ortiz,
Yes.
Fariba Kasiri,
Yes.
and Sarah Marsh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So there's 2 things that housekeeping sort of. First is that I've asked Mark Battle to be the only person to join us from the executive team, primarily for the role of assisting the board with process. And so, yes, so Mark's going to join us. Otherwise, as board members and Ms. Manley, we sign out.
Yes,
then-
and click into the executive session call, and once you finish that, come back out to this call for your action.
And we should be able to find that on our emails, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
see everybody shortly. Now that we have everybody, I want to thank the board for their hard work. And I believe we've got everybody back. And what we have is a resolution for action to take. And so what I want to do is have the resolution or the action for the board to be introduced as a motion and then seconded, and then any board member, and I'll start, will speak to the motion. So is there a motion?
Chair, I move to put forth the resolution for a vote.
Okay.
And would you like me to read the resolution?
If you'll read the motion or resolution.
Okay. The resolution states as follows. Whereas David Gaddis has met the performance goals of his 2019 contract established with the DC Water Board of Directors and managed the unforeseen challenge of the pandemic caused by COVID-19. And whereas David Gaddis has provided successful leadership for DC Water for 2020, and whereas the change in the base salary bonus for performance and performance goals met or set by Mr. Gaddis in concert with the Board of Directors by November will be determined on an annual basis over the next 3 years. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Directors approves the continued employment for David Gaddis as General Manager of DC Water with number 1, a 3-year contract extension from September 2020 through September 2023. Number 2, annual pay at $292,128, which is a 2.5% increase. And number 3, all other material contract conditions remain the same as relevant for 2021.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second, Simon.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. And so let me just begin by saying that that this represents a vote of confidence in our general manager for a high performing year, and also a confidence that says we want you to stick around longer, that we're asking you to stay another 3 years. We believe that's we'll see after 3 years that's not an end point. That's just a time that we come back and say, how are we doing? And we're going to do that annually also. Let me also say that the board fully recognizes that while Mr. Gaddis has done a very solid job in keeping DC Water as the premier water and sewer utility for America, that we also recognize we're in a pandemic. We are in a economic depression, and that we want to be sensitive to that. And I want to say publicly that the board, under normal conditions, would have been prepared to do better in terms of rewarding Mr. Gaddis for his performance and his leadership. But it's within the board wanting to recognize that this is a tough time and that this is not the time for bonuses and for other remuneration that we normally would be doing right now, because again, Mr. Gaddis made all the performance marks, and then the performances that he did not anticipate, the pandemic, and then things like what we're seeing with climate change, managing our entity through that, and at the same time really keeping our entity financially strong, which lowers our borrowing costs, reassures that we have the money to fix things when they break unexpectedly. We are in good shape, but we recognize the time that we're in. And Mr. Gaddis, we believe that you have put together the best leadership team in the country for any authority or utility like ours. We believe that we're on the right track. I think you've been a very good steward with the funds for DC Water. And I think that the work that you and your team are doing in terms of one of the largest infrastructure projects in the region of the Clean Water Tunnel Project is that will be over $2 to $3 billion of a project. And I don't want to disparage other jurisdictions or other projects, but you don't have to look far to see when things go awry, either poor workmanship that causes to question the integrity of the work that's happening or cost overruns that have to be renegotiated. That's not happened under your watch. You've been entrusted and have earned the trust to be a good steward with the funds and the investments to continue the projects that we need done, which are, again, major, but also to be sure that DC residents and our surrounding jurisdictions get what they pay for. And that is a reliable utility that does the most fundamental thing. It removes the waste from our businesses, homes, and community, but it also, in most of the areas, provides us fresh drinking water. So you do that well, and you've inherited a high-performing utility, but at the same time, we've got legacy costs that we're having to address, and you're doing that, whether it be lead pipes or aging infrastructure. You have reassured my colleagues that you're addressing it. You're up to the task, and we are proud and excited to ask you to stay with us for another 3 years and be the head of our utility. And with that, I want to also thank my colleagues for their participation in making this offer to you, and then open the floor to any colleague that would like to add to that.
I think you covered it well.
All right.
Mr. Chair, there's not much more I can add to that, but I'm really looking forward to working with you, Mr. Gaddis, for the next 3 years. I think some wonderful things are in store for us.
Yeah. And this is Kendrick Curry. We look forward to working with you and serving in the community with you. I think you did a great job last year, and looking forward to great things in the future.
This is Ivan. Just to add on, I think that the importance of leadership as we go forward into managing multiple crises and the strength of the utility is, I just think that the long-term view here and the long-term relationship and your leadership is incredibly important. So thank you.
I just want to second everything that everyone said. Thank you, Mr. Gaddis. We are, first of all, I'm thrilled that, we have this 3 years additional relationship. So I'm here, we're all here, anything you need from us. And thank you for all you've done in the past year or so. Thanks again.
And yes, this is Emil Thompson. I just want to say I appreciate everything you've done for the authority and the member jurisdictions. I think you've made tremendous growth from each year you've been here, and I look forward to that growth continuing as you move further into the 3-year contract.
So with that, there are no further comments. Let me say again that the board members that you're here to represent your different jurisdictions, there's not more of an awesome responsibility than assuring these fundamental services for a civil society. And so thank you. And I think that the confidence that you're showing in Mr. Gaddis is greatly appreciated. And I can, say as the chair, this is probably about the highest performing board I've ever served on. And so thank you for going through this process. So with that, let me ask, not sure, I'm going to give the opportunity for a roll call vote. Ms. Manley?
Chairman Wells.
Absolutely. Yes, I support.
Roshnabad.
Yes, and congratulations, Mr. Gaddis.
David Franco, Anthony Giacola, Emil Thompson,
Yes.
Joe Leonard,
Yes, full support.
Major Riddick,
He's gone.
Lavinia Baxter,
Thank you, Mr. Gaddis. Congratulations, and yes.
Floyd Holt,
I vote yes.
Fariba Kasiri,
I vote yes, and thank you and congratulations, Mr. Gaddis.
and Randy Bartlett.
Yes.
Okay. The motion passes, approved.
So thank you. We have a unanimous vote, Mr. Gaddis. And then just you and I will figure out the minor details. And David, is there anything you want to say?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chairman Wells, for the opportunity to address the board. First of all, I want to thank the board for their confidence in me. It has been for me a great 2 years, and I'm glad that the board, and I'm very happy the board has the confidence in me to give me a multi-year contract and to place the utility in my hands. I truly appreciate that. I take on this responsibility as one in the highest regard and will always put forth my best effort as I've done over the past 2 years, and you will get the same from me in the next 3. And I want to thank my team as well, because I don't do this by myself. My team is behind me 100%. They're always with me, and we do what we do, with a vote of confidence from each other, but also collaboratively. We work as a team on a day-to-day basis, and I appreciate the opportunity. I'm overwhelmed that just as I was when I got the job 2 years ago. As you know, Mr. Wells, it was the first time I had ever been without words. Today, I sort of feel the same way, except I know that we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm up to the task to complete it. And I think that my team is as well. So I thank the board for the vote of confidence, and that we will serve the district and the outlying counties very, very well and in the utmost and professional manner as we move forward. So Chairman Wells, thank you as well for your leadership, and thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gaddis. Thank you very much. So without any other objection or further matters before the board, I will call this board meeting to a close. It is 5:13, September 21st, 2020. I don't have a gavel. So thank you, everybody. This board meeting is closed.
Good night, everybody.